people. The fact that, they were sick and tired of this tyrannical government that was sucking the country dry, the corruption, the nepotism, the extrajudicial killings, and everything else, the looting of the banks, all that was going on. And I was, of course, documenting that. On the 4th of August, I was taking pictures. I got attacked. My equipment got smashed. I went back on the 5th and started taking pictures again. That day, I gave an interview to Al Jazeera. That night, I was sitting exactly where I'm sitting now, at around a similar time, in fact. And they came into our flat. They blindfolded me, handcuffed me, took me away. I was tortured that night, and later I ended up in jail. And that was, of course, the beginning of that process. But this picture, if you're seeing it, is the students at that time demanding justice, which is something we've had to demand again so many years later. So, of course, once I came out of jail, what they had tried to do at that time, which is what they've done with others, is they had said to me, you can go back, nothing on record. We will not bother you. You just need to stay quiet. And of course, I worked out that was how they did this. That was their mechanism. I refused to accept those deals. That's why I got jailed and stayed in jail for that period. But once I came out, of course, I continued speaking. And there it was a question of, saying all the things that needed to be said. And we've continued that throughout. And RIC has been an oasis within this very repressive space, because we have continued to say a show on extrajudicial killings, which they closed down. We took the government to court. Later, we did another show because the crossfire continued. And this time we were attacked in the streets. But we had the people on our side. And now I think one of the shifts that had taken place is, while they were still as repressive as they were, I think the people had gathered around us. And every time the government tried to do something, people would protest. And they were taking huge risks to come onto the streets and protest and be with us. And of course, we stayed the course. And while we were doing that, obviously the movement began in July. When the movement began, our initial statements were simply because we were writing. So that was also difficult because the internet had been closed down. So we were finding, and in fact, a friend of ours took a huge amount of risk to find ways to get our information out. So we were publishing, we were sending out pictures, and they couldn't really work out what the hell was going on. But more importantly, because that message was going out, it was still galvanizing people, and the movement got together. Then it became very hairy. Of course, they started picking up people and shooting people. So towards the end, it was also a question of sheltering the students, of making sure they were safe, finding ways to keep going, keep the resistance going during all that. But while that was happening, I think the students played an exemplary role. I remember visiting Nahid, who's now the head of NCP, at hospital. And the following day, he was picked up from the hospital and tortured again. There were all these theatrical things where they were made to sign or admit that they'd called off the meeting. But this was a dispersed movement, and the students knew well what was going on. So no one was going to buy that. And really, eventually, the government just ran out of steam. And the interesting thing was, on the 5th of August itself, this was quite phenomenal, where we'd gone out from our flat in Dhanmondi to go to Shahbag. We weren't able to cross Mirpur Road because the police and the APCs were in the streets. They shot at us. 3 of our group got hit. But we managed to regroup, and Renum and I, we got on a rickshaw. We knew the back roads. We managed to get to Shahbag, and by the time we got there, we were being garlanded. between 15 minutes of being shot at, we were being garlanded, and it was complete euphoria. It was like 1971 again, and people were so jubilant. It was incredible. Now, that is an energy that we need to hold together. That is a passion we need to channel. And this is a moment in Bangladesh's history that we cannot lose out on.